The city I'm underneath lays claim to over 40 area breweries in 2017. When this city was dubbed the beer capital of the world, these tunnels I'm in right now were used to store and cool lager beer, the most popular style globally for over 100 years. This city is experiencing a new renaissance in beer, one that doesn't get the attention it deserves. But that changes today, because today, Turning Craft is in Cincinnati, Ohio.
This content would not have been possible without the support of our sponsors, craft loyal partners like Pies and Pints, who has locations in Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Alabama. Pies and Pints has the best craft pizza and the most expertly curated draft list anywhere. Get some.
In the first episode, we met Jared, a self-professed beer hater. And with the help of a brewing pro and some friends from the craft beer community, we were able to turn our first guest to craft. Today we're going to meet Marco, who reached out to us after seeing Turning Craft. Marco asked for our help in converting a close friend of his who'd rather reach for a macro than a local brew. His buddies' imbibing choices seemed to not sit well with Marco, because Marco is himself a craft brewer. So we decided to meet up with Marco at an up-and-coming Cincinnati area brewery, Braxton Brewing Company, to see how we could lend a hand. Hey, Marco.
Hey, Jeremy.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
What you drinking there?
Well, I've got a sample of a cucumber wit, and this is a heavyweight.
Awesome. I think I'm gonna order a beer too.
Yeah.
How about a short fuse?
Hey, cheers, man. Hey, cheers.
So Marco, you saw the first episode of Turning Craft and you reached out to us.
Yes.
Because you've got a friend that you want to turn to craft.
Yes. So I got a buddy. His name's Kevin. I've known him 8 years, and we go out, have drinks, and I order my craft beer. He orders what he wants. And
Tell me some stories about what happens when you go out with Kevin.
well, it's always a good time. I get my craft beer. Depends on his mood. He might get, a liquor drink, or he might get a typical light American lager, Pilsner, or something like that.
What's your connection with the craft beer community?
On my off days, I spend my off days brewing beer at a craft brewery in Cincinnati. And so I started off as a home brewer, and I was really excited about the Cincinnati craft beer scene. I said, I got to be a part of it. So I just showed up at a craft brewery one day and started.
Just showed up.
and I met the guys there, started helping out, and it grew to brewing beer right next to the guys. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, buddy, what's up?
What's up, man? Good to see you.
Hey, I'm Jeremy. Jeremy, nice to meet you.
Kevin,
Nice to meet you. So Marco has a little wish here, and he wants to be able to share his craft beer experiences with you, I guess more often. And
Right.
it doesn't seem like you guys are on the same plane when it comes to drinking beer.
No, probably not.
So typically you just order a light beer?
Yeah, when I'm drinking beer, I just get your average domestic light beer. That's mainly what I drink.
Now, is beer your adult beverage of preference?
No, I'm more of a whiskey drinker.
So what do you think about Marco? You guys have known each other for 8 years, Marco
A good
said?
while, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about Marco's hobby of being into craft beer and actually brewing on the side?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. He tries to get me more involved in it. He talks about it. Sometimes, honestly, I'll just start to glaze over. It just never caught on with me.
So you got a light lager or a light ale there in front of you.
Okay.
Did you taste it yet?
No, I have not.
Well, let's see.
But it's actually not bad. It's a little strong, which is kind of the thing with the craft beers that I noticed. It's kind of a strong flavor. It just has a different flavor, and it's different almost in an unpleasant way.
So Marco sent me some pictures of you guys having a great time over some grub. So I figured for an experience today, we could pair some beer with some great food. What do you think about that?
Awesome. I'm willing to try it.
Cool. Well, let's hit the road, guys. Let's go.
do it.
All right. They say that a way to a person's heart is through their stomach. We're hoping we can hit the accelerator to Kevin's by also pleasing his palate with some great beer pairings. That's why we're at Pies and Pints here at the Banks in Cincinnati. But we're not just going to match up a beer with a dish. We actually enlisted two of Cincinnati's favorite breweries to assist us in what can be described as a head-to-head pairing competition. The challenge? Serve the brew that makes Kevin want craft beer with every meal.
I'm Max Ram with 50 West Brewing Company. Yeah, so we opened up in 2012, November at the end of 2012, and we started on a little 10-barrel system. We just figured like, hey, we're gonna have a restaurant that makes some really cool beers of its own. And then the craft beer boom really took off in Cincinnati, and we couldn't keep up with demand. We started distributing a little bit, but all of our beer was getting, drank up all over town.
My name's Scotty Hunter. I'm with Urban Artifact in Northside. We do exclusively tart, wild, and sour beers, and we are located in an old Catholic church in one of Cincinnati's oldest, most historic neighborhoods. The way we got started was three guys with a very similar vision, wanted to start a beer and music venue, and we've been open for about 2 years now, and it's just really awesome to be able to bring the community together like we do with all of our live entertainment and community events that we host on site.
For our friendly Cincy brewery competition, both 50 West and Urban Artifact chose 3 beers to pair with 3 tasty Pies and Pints dishes.
These are our charred grilled hot wings and a Pies and Pints staple. They're marinated overnight in a coriander cumin rub and then tossed the very next day in a sriracha, garlic butter, and zesty lime sauce before being charred grilled to perfection.
Urban Artifact's pairing for the wings is Key Punch, our key lime goza. And so goza is a tart, salty wheat beer with coriander and sea salt. And this one specifically has fresh key limes added to it. So the pairing works really well because you get that fruitiness of the lime that's going to blend with that spiciness of the sriracha. And then if you like that intensification of heat like you would with like a bitter IPA, that acid's going to do that same thing for your hot wings.
Interesting flavor. Definitely has that bite that I was referring to earlier about the craft beers.
Yeah.
It's definitely different.
Our 50 West pairing for the wings is 50 West Lager. It's a super easy drinking beer. It should be really reminiscent of beers that you enjoy. So it is a lager strain of yeast. So it's going to be really clean, a lot of cereal grain flavor in the mid palate, 4.3%. It'll finish really just medium bodied and clean.
That's a much different flavor than the last one. It was really unique.
Yeah, this is like light and clean and grainy. Yeah, 4.2%. It's a lager too, so that lager strain will keep the beer like really like playful and approachable.
Yeah, that's a really good flavor with the wings, especially.
All right, Kevin, wings and beer. So, what would you say would be, out of the two, your favorite pairing for this?
Well, with the wings, for me, probably have to be this one.
The lager?
Yeah. It's a little closer to the kind of beer I'm used to drinking as far as flavor. This definitely had a really neat, unique flavor to it. This is definitely something where I can see myself easing in from my regular beers to this, and then maybe to that.
This is our Cuban pork pie and definitely one of our top sellers here at Pies and Pints. The pork itself is marinated for 24 hours before being slow roasted on low heat for another 6 hours. Then it's accompanied by fresh pineapple, caramelized onions, jalapenos, feta cheese, cilantro, and topped with creme fraiche.
So our pairing for the pizza portion of the tasting is Finn, and what that is a Berliner Pale Ale. So it's all the ingredients of a classic American Pale Ale, but sour mash like a Berliner Weiss. So you're going to get nice fruit-forward citrus notes of the hops, a little bit of acidity, and then a nice malty backbone.
That's interesting. I like those peppers.
Yeah.
And the food, the flavor.
Yeah, you get that fattiness of the pulled pork. It's really cut through that just light bit of acidity.
It's definitely a lot different than the last one.
Yeah.
The flavor overall. Very good.
Oh, cheers.
Actually,
All right, Kevin, I'm back with my second beer. This is 50 West National Award-winning Going Plaid Scotch Ale. So a Scotch Ale is like a smooth, malty, sweet beer with really low bitterness. The color is kind of reminiscent of like an amber. And that sweet kind of caramely finish is going to, I think, pair pretty well with the meat that's on the pizza as well as the spiciness. It'll probably calm down a little bit of the spice. Just kind of balance that out with sweetness. Super smooth, no bitterness. So when you keep saying the craft beer thing, you might be talking about like the hops, and this might be more something you like.
well, in the past, a few dark beers I've ever tried, I've never a real big. It's definitely not the flavor I was expecting from a dark beer. It's better. Dark beers I've tried in the past, that licoricey almost kind of.
Yeah.
That doesn't have that bite to it.
It's not
That
full on.
I was fully expecting it to be that real bitter flavor. It's good.
It's smooth, it's balanced, it's caramely, it's sweet, it's got like a nice malty profile to it. You're missing that bitterness, like I said, which is, maybe what you're not liking about craft beer.
Definitely surprised by it. Love it. Well, getting to like it.
We might have found a style that you like.
Getting to like it, let's put it that way.
All right, what'd you think, buddy?
I think the Scotch Ale probably had a little more appeal to me. Both very good, but I think, again, if I was eating pizza or out eating, I would probably go with the Scotch Ale.
Not a bad choice.
Yeah.
This is our New York style cheesecake with the graham cracker crust and our homemade raspberry sauce.
So, Kevin, beer and cheesecake.
Yeah.
Can't do much better.
Yeah, doesn't get much better than that. All right, what do we got?
We've got Flash Lamp. It's our tart white ale. Really, it's just a classic spin on a Belgian white with rose petals and orange marmalade. And so it's going to have a pretty substantial amount of acidity. And what that's really going to do is cut through that fattiness of the cheesecake and have that graininess of the beer complement it.
Well, I see what you mean when you mix that with the sweet from the cheesecake.
Yeah.
It's actually a nice combination. Yeah, I like that. That's good. It's not quite as doesn't have that bite
Yeah.
like some of those beers do. It's,
It's super
a little
light.
smoother.
Yeah, right on.
Seems to go really well with it. You wouldn't think that a beer would go good with a cheesecake at all, but that's not bad. Dark beer.
All right, so for the final course here, I'm bringing you our 50 West Coffee Please Nitro Stout. So this is a coffee flavored stout. So I know you said you don't like dark beers, but do you like coffee?
I do. I'm a coffee fan.
You like
sure.
you like chocolate?
Yeah.
So it's going to exhibit both those kind of flavors, and the texture is going to be really smooth because of the way that we dispense this beer. It's poured through the nitro faucet, which is like the same faucet that Guinness comes out of.
Okay.
The beer's kind of forced through a sparkler on the bottom, so it creates this really tight, tiny bubble head on the top, which changes the texture of the beer to be like much smoother and really coats your palate with the flavor. And we use a bunch of coffee from a local roaster in town. Their name is actually Coffee Please, so we named it after them. And I brought it out for dessert because coffee's normally brought out with dessert, and I think that this is going to be the beer version of that. So,
All right, sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Let's give it a shot. Well, you can really taste the coffee in that. It's strong, so you have to kind of let that flavor sink in first. You got to kind of get adjusted to that.
Get 2 sips in kind of thing.
Yeah, because when you drink beer, for me, I mean, again, I'm not into the craft beer so much, but you have to get used to the fact that it kind of tastes like coffee.
Yeah.
It tastes like chocolate. Really good. Different.
Thanks.
All right, third course.
Yep. Third course.
And
Again, both very interesting beers.
Went with, I forget what they were calling this one, but
Flashlamp.
Flashlamp.
Yep.
All right. Went with that one with the dessert. I thought it was just a better compliment to it. I'm not sure. Yeah, it got dark. The last one was okay, but this one a little different. Just I'd have to try that a little more. But this definitely went well with it.
Having tasted 6 different beer styles with some great food, we could tell Kevin was getting pretty decided about what he likes in a beer. We crowned our winner and headed out to our 3rd beer destination of the day. Marco had told me that he's never been able to get Kevin to visit a brewery with him, so to a great Cincinnati brewery is exactly where we went next.
MadTree Brewing made history when they opened in 2013 by becoming the first modern craft brewery to can its beer in Ohio. Earlier in 2017, the brewery expanded by opening MadTree 2.0, an $18 million, 50,000 square foot facility using an old hangar for the main brew house. Since Kevin had never been in a brewery before, we asked MadTree's Director of People and Social Strategy, Mike Stewart, to give us a look at how beer is made at MadTree 2.0.
3 different bags here on these cranes, these super sacks, where it will then start to sprinkle in some of the different other specialty malts that go into the recipe. So as it's bringing in all the base malt from outside, it's dropping in even increments all your specialty malts into that go into that recipe. So pretty impressive, pretty cool system to see it take all these specialty malts and the base malt, mix it all together, get a good even crush, good distribution of all those different grains before it even goes into the mash tun.
All right, so I poured up a variety of different beers for you here to try. They go in all different colors and flavors. So let's start maybe with kind of the lightest and easiest. Let's go with Lift.
All right.
Lift's a cool style ale, so it's gonna be real light, crisp, and have just a little subtle hint of citrus. Not fruity by any means, but just a crisp, easy drinking beer.
That's actually not bad. Light.
Yeah, light, easy drinking. Good. Next one we have is Happy Amber. So this is gonna be an amber ale. This is a little bit more of a caramel toasted notes in the malt there, balanced out with some hops, some American hops to give a little bit of floral and spicy notes to it.
Let's give this one a shot. Well, see, that's a lot stronger. A lot different.
Yeah, the malt bill on that one's completely different. You get a lot more of those caramel, a little bit of a roastiness to it.
Yeah, that's actually not bad. Again, you get a few drinks, you can sort of get the flavor going for it. I like it. I mean, it's, I think I like the first one, the lighter one, a little better.
Yep.
Ease my way into.
Next one we go with Psychopathy. So be ready for this one. This one's gonna be bitter. This is your IPA. So it's got a pronounced malt backbone. You get a little breadiness to it, but then those hops are gonna come through.
So what's the IPA mean again?
I've heard India Pale Ale.
Okay.
So it's just the style of it in general.
Let's give it a try. Yeah, it definitely jumps out at you.
Oh yeah, you'll get it in that finish. That bitterness is going to come through. It finishes a little bit dry, but you get some of those floral and citrusy flavors from the hops. Then the bitterness comes in.
Yeah. Not my favorite of the first three so far, but
that's fair.
Not bad, interesting, but
that style can be a little bit of an acquired taste.
Yeah, that one definitely I can see having to grow on you.
The last one, this one's going to be completely different from all three of these. This is Shade. This is our blackberry tart fruit ale. So it's got blackberries and sea salt added to it. So it's got a real light kind of wheat body, but it's got a little bit of a tartness, sourness to it. Very refreshing on a hot day.
All right, let's give it a shot. Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah,
it tastes that little
fruity sweetness.
Yeah, a little more fruity.
You get a little bit of that salt there that kind of just gives you that kind of thirst quenching bite there. All right, so now I understand you're a whiskey drinker.
That's one thing we learned about Kevin today is that he is a whiskey drinker, not a beer drinker. He drinks beer, but he likes whiskey.
Well, we got I got a couple treats back here in the fridge. Some bourbon barrel aged beers. So we've taken a base beer and then aged it in a bourbon barrel anywhere from 6-8 months to a year or more to really kind of impart those barrel and those spirit flavors into the beer itself.
That's playing dirty.
All right,
bring it on.
It's delicious though.
I'm ready. Absolutely.
Even for a craft beer drinker, they're going to have their preferences. You know, stuff that they like, stuff that they don't like. So for somebody to say, I don't like craft beer, it really is You just haven't found the craft beer that you like.
Kind of a blanket statement, which really isn't a fair statement to make, I guess, at this point.
So this is a Russian Imperial Stout. So this is going to be a pretty bold beer, real dark roast. So you're going to get a lot of those dark chocolate and coffee notes to it. But then we've added additional coffee and vanilla, and then aged it in a bourbon barrel.
Ooh, boy.
It's going to have a thick, heavy body. Give that one a smell.
It looks nice. Okay. Boy, that's a...
Friendly smell?
That is, wow. Boy, that is really neat.
Yeah.
That's neat. That's you taste the whiskey. You taste the whiskey, you taste the beer, you taste the vanilla, you taste all of it. Strong. That I like. Alright. Yeah, I like that quite a bit actually.
This is a black barley wine. This is ye old battering ram that has been aged in bourbon barrels. So a black barley wine, it's a little bit unique take on the style of a barley wine, which is a very malt-forward, heavy drinking, thick-bodied beer. But this has a black patent malt added to it, so it adds a little bit more of some chocolate notes to it.
Okay.
Makes it a little bit darker than what you traditionally see the style, but I think there's another one you're really going to like.
Another nose full there.
Mm-hmm.
And it is different than the other one too.
Definitely different, yeah.
It's the whiskey. You get it's all of it. It's just really good.
This is just sweetness,
yeah.
some chocolate in there.
It all comes together just.
Yep. And you get that oak and
then you get
that
that
bourbon
little
flavor.
bit of that bourbon flavor in there, and it's just really. Oh, that is great.
So they call certain beers in the craft beer industry gateway beers, and typically they're at the lager end of the scale or the light pale ale. But we've totally flipped the script today, and we've made your gateway beer the bourbon barrel aged strong beers.
About as heavy duty as
and the sours,
and
right? And the
sours.
sours.
Well, I got to tell you, cheers to you guys, because this is really a very good product. Both of them.
After 3 stops at some iconic Cincinnati area beer businesses, Kevin had admittedly become at least craft beer curious. We all agreed it was time for him to visit a bottle shop or great beer department. It's been said that Ohio has a top 5 selection in the nation when it comes to finding craft beer from all over. We couldn't think of a better place in the Cincinnati area to pick out a brew for Kevin than Jungle Jim's International Market. With what we found out about his preferences today, we're sure to send Kevin home with something that can permanently replace those macros in his fridge. So Todd, we put Kevin through a series of experiences today drinking craft beer, and he's really come around and realized that, you know, he likes some dark beers, he likes some sours, he likes some light craft beers. We want to send him home with a bottle today, so that's why we're here. But we also realize that, you know, coming to a place like Jungle Jim's where there's so much selection can kind of be overwhelming for somebody like Kevin. Would you mind helping us pick a bottle out for Kevin today and, you know, help take some of that ease off?
Absolutely, happy to. So, I understand you're kind of a national beer lover. You drink your Miller Lite, your Bud Light.
Yeah.
And you also like bourbon too.
Yes, sir.
The hardest thing coming into Jungle Jim's, we like to do things big. In doing things big, there's maybe a little perception that, no, everything's here, you know? But between myself and my killer staff of buyers, we like to consider ourselves curators, you know? So quality is the biggest important thing that we have to kind of worry about here.
Sure.
And so, yeah, we want to support the local guys, but we also want to make sure that what they're doing is up to par. So when you come into our department, it's always great, especially if you're to grab one of the guys and say, hey, just give me the 30-second tour and then we'll cut you loose and let you make a decision. And so maybe that's what we ought to do, you know, right off the bat. So this the section that's right behind me right now has all the Ohio beers and a little bit of Kentucky. We've already had to move Indiana and Michigan in order to make room for all the local beer. Our jobs and my staff's job is to find these guys who are looking a little, you know, eyes are starting to glaze over at so much selection, and we start asking some leading questions. We start trying to figure out what they're looking for, how we can impress them, because when they come here they want something different. They don't want to buy what they can buy at their local store. And so just through some questions and some good service, we're able to navigate and take them through, and really like to kind of give them the layout, you know, talk to them about style and what to look for, I guess. But then we like to let them kind of be on their own, to not be feeling like they're being sold to, that they're getting to enjoy the experience of wandering around, the awe and merriment of shopping at Jungles.
What do you know? We got Jack Straw.
Really like this one.
You like cherries?
Yeah.
Okay.
It does. That sounds good.
Jack Straw. I think that's an excellent choice.
Was that a local one?
So Marcus, you have fun today?
I had a great time. I mean, when you start the day at 8:30 a.m. with a Hefeweizen, it's going to be a good day. I knew I was going to have fun. What I was hoping was the very premise of the idea of the show was fulfilled, which is that Kevin would have a great experience and that he'd come away with a newer appreciation for independently brewed craft beer. And I think we succeeded. And I bet the next time he and I go out for a drink, I bet you he'll order a craft beer.
I was able to set time aside today to just do this. That's all I wanted to do, was just do this and focus on this only. Really absorb it, take it in, learn about it, understand it, get a better appreciation for it, which I think I did. Yeah, I learned with a little education, okay, with a little background and a little knowledge of what it is you're drinking and what you're tasting. You can learn a little more, you can have a little more appreciation for what it is you're drinking.
Would you be able to say that you were converted today?
I can say, I can say I think I'm a convert. I'm an official convert. A novice, but a convert. I'm learning.
Jerry, are you looking forward to it?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am. Right now.
Into my hands. Safe to say that Turning Craft is officially 2 for 2. We're learning we may discover something in this craft beer phenomenon for just about anyone. If you know someone who you think is a real challenge, give us a shout. We're willing to try and wake up the palates of even the toughest of beer haters.